What's good, family? Smash the like button and subscribe. So, your boy, the YB, yesterday exclusively and proprietarily leaked the information from Teddy Atlas that Billy Joe Saunders and his team have been shilling and lying about the extent of their injuries. That's what we do know. Teddy Atlas, who is a boxing historian, he knows all the tricks of the trade. He studies this for a living, has done for 50 years. He knows all the standard shills, basically. He knows all the textbook shills from boxing trainers, boxers themselves, and promoters. He said, listen, in my experience, in my 50-year and studied experience, if there's no evidence of injuries and people are laying it on thick, there's no evidence. That's all we know. People say, oh, well, YB, Teddy doesn't have any evidence. That's the thing. People don't understand how evidence works, how the burden of proof works. When you make claims, the burden of proof is on you. It's not on Teddy to prove it didn't happen. No, it's on Billy Joe and his team, 50-man deep team, to provide a lick of evidence. And it's especially significant when your main man, Eddie Hearn, has demanded as much from other people. You'd think in his mind, if he was able to, you'd think Eddie would be doing, you know what? Bearing in mind, I lambasted Frank Warren and Daniel Dubois. Let me at least throw it out there. The fact there's silence, it's golden. It's golden for the lie exposers. Us man, who are the truth seekers. That's who it's golden for. Because Eddie's looking real bad now. And listen, if he had anything, do you not think he'd put it out there? And it's even more peak for Eddie because, guess what? He's done it before. His last fighter, Kell Brook, he put it out there. So you got to kind of do the maths now in your mind. Wait there, if Eddie put it out for Kell, where's Billy's? Who's exponentially worse, allegedly. And the thing is as well, how they've been laying it on so thick. Billy Joe's team have laid it on so thick. Oh, you know, it's free in the cheek, and his metatarsal's been pulled, and free in the eye, and just reeling off different bones in the head and saying it's all been cracked. And when you lay it on that thickly, they're in trouble now, because guess what? Most x-rays ain't going to have triple this, triple that, triple this. And I think that's what they've realised is, because I initially said, well, I'm pretty sure they'll put out a fake one. But number one, legally speaking, if Eddie Hearn puts something fake out and it gets exposed, you know what I'm saying? You're going to be in deep trouble. I'm pretty sure you could probably even lose your licence over that. You can't be lying to people. That's the first thing that will prevent him doing such an act. Number two, finding a scan. Remember, they've talked it up so much. They've talked up, oh, it's free this, free that, free this. They've talked it up so much. It means that it's not a standard injury. You can't just go on Google and find, oh, well, cracked jaw or whatever. They've hyped it up and they've made it sound so bad and so specific. They'd have to make a fake one, or to have a fake one, they're going to have to find someone with exactly the same injuries, which is very unusual. How many people do you know have three cracks in this, 3 cracks in that, 3 cracks in this? No one don't know. So they're not able to even fake it. And that's why you don't see squat. Yeah, you don't see squat. Anyway, we've given you, there's the highlight of what happened yesterday. That's the highlight of the leaks from yesterday, from Teddy Atlas. Now today what we're doing is, your boy the YB has received some more clandestine leaked information from sources close to the situation. And essentially, by the end of this video, it's going to undoubtedly prove Billy Joe never went to the hospital, never been injured, and it's as simple as that. Moving on now then. So, the first piece of evidence that Billy Joe, nothing wrong with the guy. And it's all been an organised cabal sham. The MTK cabal have organised this to make Billy look good. So the first point is the actual injury. Now, when Billy was allegedly hit, he was hit. When Billy was hit, everyone said, oh yeah, look, his eye was caved. And people since have been saying, yeah, look, YB, you're completely wrong. Even ask Canelo. Even ask Eddie Hearn. Eddie Hearn after the fight immediately, before no doctor said anything. No doctor had said anything. But Eddie Hearn said, oh yeah, it was obvious, it was 3 times fractured and 3 times fractured and 3 times fractured. In all different places. Alvarez said, yeah, I knew his eye was popped. And people have been using that. Oh look, even Alvarez knows. Alvarez doesn't have an x-ray in his hand. He knew he caught Billy with a good shot. He didn't know he cracked it here, he cracked it there. How was he going to know that? Explain that to me. Oh, well, YB, you're completely wrong. Alvarez knew he popped his Barnett for him. No, he didn't know. He knew he caught him with a great shot. He didn't know that he didn't know the alleged extent of the injuries. And most importantly, never mind Alvarez, never mind Eddie Hearn shilling for Billy after the fight immediately. And that's always a good sign. When someone comes out and starts giving specific injuries without any x-ray and evidence, the scam was built in from the jump. From the jump, Eddie was banging his... Oh, yeah, no, you could tell it, his cheek and his eye, and it was all... You could tell they almost dug themselves into a hole. They hyped it up so much at the beginning. When it turned out to be some mild bruising, what are they going to do? What are they going to do? Eddie immediately after the thing was saying, yeah, it's obvious, it's all cracked, his face is completely sunken in, etc., etc. He couldn't go back. You can't backtrack then. Because if you do backtrack, it becomes like, well, wait there a minute. When he officially got x-rayed and there's nothing there, as I've been told there isn't, what do we say now? Oh, well, Billy jacked from a bruised eye. Wow, he can't do that. They've got to carry on the wagon. And that's why you're seeing weird things going on now, like interviews being scrubbed. But anyway, we'll get to that. Right now, the point is, people have been saying, YB, you're completely wrong because Alvarez the one that hit him. Alvarez don't have x-ray. But most importantly, let me debunk that right now for you, officially. Doctors, people make up like, oh, well, YB, you know what I'm saying? Alvarez knew. Doctors actually looked at his eye. Doctors didn't wave it off. They saw Billy in the corner and said, listen, he can fight on. Otherwise, if it was that bad, if it was 3 times, you got to remember as well, if you actually watch it carefully, Billy Ho's corner man is going over it with that metal thing that reduces swelling. Now, if your eye and your eye socket and your cheek and whatever else has been completely displaced here, do you think you're going to have some man ramming a metal thing in your face? Innit? If your face is completely broken down, as people are alleging, imagine the pain of someone getting that big metal thing out, because normally how it works is that big cold metal thing, they have to apply it with quite a lot of pressure to squeeze out the swelling. So, do you think that man's just pushing that in his face and it's all broken down? Do you think his face could take that? No. Which implies, not implies, it basically tells you, nothing wrong with the guy. There's a bit of bruising. The reason, if your eye socket and your cheekbones are completely fractured in three places, the last thing your corner man would be doing is ramming that big metal thing in his face and smashing it up some more. And the fact that happened, and also the doctor, shortly after the big metal thing mashing up Billy's face some more, the doctor came and looked at it and said nothing. Now them doctors, they're very experienced, they've got nimble hands. You can feel it, yeah? You can feel the extent that everyone's hyping about, oh yeah, look, his face is completely sunken in. Do you think, yeah, if his face was genuinely completely sunken in, the doctor would have let it carry on? No, he wouldn't have done. And that's why the corner pulled it and not the doctor. If it was 3 times broken here, 3 times broken there, doctor would have said, no, it's off. No way. Your face is completely sunken in. Now, on that basis as well, in case all my arguments have gone over your head, let's actually look at the picture. Now, this picture here on your screen now, you'll see Billy Ho. And what it shows is, I told you, man, the other day that people like Conor McGregor and Billy, but Conor McGregor more intensively, when he gets down to low body fat percentages, his face gets sucked in, as does every human, but everyone's face shapes and whatnot are different. Now, Billy Joe here, this was a fight from months ago, nothing to do with this Alvarez fight. Now, Billy's in better shape now, which means that the contours and the curves in his face are even more defined. Now, what you'll notice is, look at the effect of the lighting of his cheekbones and his jawbones and whatnot, and his eye bones. You'll notice that it looks like it's sunken in. His cheekbones, naturally, the way they bend the light, it looks like his cheek is sunken in. And you've got to remember as well, all of the angles of his alleged injury on the night, they were all zooming in on one half of his face. None of them were full face, so you couldn't get a full perspective. Now, if I show you half of this particular picture here, you'd be saying, no doubt, yeah, that's completely sunken in, you'd say. Because it does look. If you don't have a reference to the other side, so you can look, like example for example, if they're claiming one side's completely broken, you need to see the other side, so you can compare it. Otherwise, because of how his face is built up, it looks sunken in. You tell me, does this half look sunken in or not? If you didn't know. Yes, it does. So all of a sudden everyone's zooming in on this one half. That's how his face looks naturally anyway. It looks naturally sunken in. No doubt. And what you'll notice is as well after the fight, there's very little evidence, very little pictures of him after the fight. because they're trying to cover it up. They can't afford to be having pictures of his double face out there. Because you guess what you'll see? There ain't nothing wrong with it. That's what you'll see. There's no... For example, when Fury was in there, and you got the cut above his eye. Where's that? Or where's examples of... We've seen Fury in the hospital bed. Where's the pictures of Billy in the hospital bed? I'll tell you where they are. They don't exist, because he's in the Marriott. Back at the hotel. He went straight from the ambulance to the hotel. No doubt. Anyway, there's the first two arguments. The first argument you just heard there. End of the day, nothing wrong with his face. The pictures previously show the contours in his face look like it's sunken in. Look like there's something wrong with his eye. Now, moving on to point 2. What you'll see on your screen now is evidence or information pertaining to Daniel Dubois' injury. Now, Daniel Dubois' injury has been proven, or was at least alleged to be, a lot less severe than Billy Joe Saunders'. He didn't have 3 in his cheek, 3 fractures in his cheek, 3 fractures in the orbital. Daniel Dubois was relatively simple. And despite that, doctors have said they weren't able, Frank Warren himself as well, have said they weren't able to operate for several weeks, or for 2 weeks, or for several days, whatever it was. They weren't able to operate because of the swelling. Swelling is blood and whatever else. Which means that obviously, if you're trying to operate, you can't, if you've got a massive loads of swelling from damage, you can't get through it. It makes it tricky. So naturally, the doctors like to wait until the swelling's gone down. Because of how hyped Eddie Hearn is, or because of how hyped the MTK cabal is, they was all on the bandwagon and banging it. Oh yeah, Billy's gone straight into surgery and whatnot. How do you go straight into surgery when you got swelling? Don't make no sense. But because when you're living real life, yeah, it's hard to really construct a good lie. Don't get me wrong, you'll fool a lot of the low IQ dons. A lot of the people out there are completely fooled by it. But when you got a don like the YB who's 190 IQ, you got no chance. You get teared up. And MTK and the El Trapahan cabal, they're sick right now. Can't believe they're getting chewed up by 190 IQ Einstein looking ass don. The YB, no doubt. So like I was saying, swelling. How were they able to... Daniel Dubois couldn't be operated on for several days or weeks. How was these magician doctors able to operate on Billy, who had worse injuries? More swelling would have been developing. Let's not forget, he got hit in that 8th round and was out of there, which means that swelling normally takes 15, 20, 30 minutes to develop. Billy was, from the time he got hit to out of the ring, was 10 minutes. So all that swelling that would have allegedly been there after such horrific injuries, how were they able to operate within... oh yeah, Billy's gone straight into surgery. That's what Eddie Hearn said. So you tell me. The answer to that question is, it didn't happen. There ain't no swelling, there ain't no injury. It's a bit of bruising, at best. Moving on. And this right here is the choker for me. Eddie Hearn came out on Monday, Tuesday and said, yeah, Billy went straight into surgery and successful surgery. He's looking to fly back on Wednesday. Now, anyone who knows, who's had any hospital involvement or surgery involvement abroad, you'll know that my head started triggering. Flying home? I had some minor scratches once when I was on holiday, and they was, oh, you know what, you might not be able to fly home. So I'm thinking to myself, how is this man who's had extensive intrusive surgeries on his eye, complete facial reconstruction, laying it on thick, what have been Billy's team, how was he able to jet back on Wednesday? You've taken horrific injuries on Saturday night. Sunday morning you're operated on, and what, you're out there by Tuesday, Wednesday? What? Don't make no sense. And again, this is the problem when you tell too many lies. Anyway, I'm sure there's people out there who say, well, what's that got to do with anything? Or you can't prove that. Let's go to the NHS website, shall we? This is a rough guide from the Civil Aviation Authority. They say that before flying, you should allow 1 day after simple cataract or corneal laser surgery, 1 to 2 days after keyhole surgery, 4 to 5 days after simple abdominal surgery, 7 days after more complicated eye surgery, 10 days after chest surgery. So there you go. End of the day, NHS and the Civil Aviation Authority have suggested, because when you fly up high, the eye is very sensitive. And when you've done some massive reconstruction surgery, when you're flying, the cabins are pressurized, and all these different interactions can mess with things. Mess with your blood pressure and mess with whatever else. Especially after you've taken on a lot of swelling. So how was Billy with all this swelling? Because remember, they were able to negate all of these things. Somehow magically, they negated the swelling problem. Nonetheless, they operated. And now he's back on the plane on Wednesday. Again, this is the problem when you tell lies. You don't understand down the line, unless you've got a high IQ Don who's thinking 4 steps ahead, you get caught out. And like many other people just let it slide and they don't even know what they don't know. But when you're seeing things in 10 dimensions, like the YB is, you just get caught lacking. And listen, you got one man in the basement making El Trapahan and MTK look silly right now. That's what we do know. So yeah, very bottom line is, never mind the swelling. Never mind how they magically got around that. End of the day, no, and these are elite athletes as well. No doctor is going to allow or going to take the risk of an elite athlete having just undergone extensive and intrusive surgery and packing him on a plane and flying him back. What for? It's not like he's got work on Monday. Got nothing else to do. And on that basis, doctors would be certainly putting his health and the risk before anything. Why? It don't make no sense. Pack him on there after all that damage and whatnot. We know that flying stresses the body out. His body can't take no more stress, allegedly, given all of his injuries. But somehow he's flying back on Wednesday. And Eddie thought he was smart. And many people have said to me, YB, you're wrong, because Eddie said that he's waiting for clearance. Oops. No, you wouldn't be waiting for clearance on Wednesday. You'd be lucky to get it done before the middle of next week. But if you're waiting for clearance. But again, people who don't have a clue what they're talking about, they hear, oh, he's waiting for clearance. That proves he's in hospital. No, it doesn't. It proves that Eddie thinks he's smart. Eddie, if he had taken a minute to look at it, what would have been the smart thing to do is just say, oh yeah, we're waiting for clearance and it'll be next week. Billy's probably already home, if truth be known. This has all just been made up now. Been fabricated to gas the place up some more. Anyway, that there is the main body of proof of all the examples, all the evidence showing he ain't been in hospital and he hasn't had a surgery. Yeah, there's no pictures and there's no x-rays. There's no hospital photos of Billy Joe in hospital with all of his family. We've seen everyone before. It's almost customary in this social media age to have pictures. Now, I'll play devil's advocate. You could argue, well, YB, it's 2020. I mean, Billy's just been washed and he doesn't feel very confident about posting pictures. That's fine. X-rays aren't social media. X-rays don't have the social element in it. So where are they? Bearing in mind, Mr. Eddie Hearn set the precedent for evidence. Eddie Hearn said about Daniel Dubois, if there's no evidence, it didn't exist. So you'd think a man with them kind of beliefs would be looking to publish if he's got any. He ain't got none. Yeah, he ain't got even a bit of evidence. That's what we do know. And actually, when you take another thing to think about it, I can see both sides, but where's Tyson Fury? Now, I'm hearing from people within the Saunders camp, the reason Fury jetted off immediately after was because Billy told him, listen, Fury, there's nothing wrong with my face, but if you hang around, you're going to bring attention to what I'm doing. Yeah, 6'9" Fury, cameras following him, much more kind of known than Billy is. If he's hanging around the hotel, that brings attention to Billy. Oh, Fury, how come you're at the hotel? How come you're not visiting Billy in the hospital? Do you understand? They want this to blow over nice and quickly, which is why Fury got out of Dodge. And another argument, Fury, maybe he's a really bad friend, or maybe he didn't stay because there's nothing wrong. How about that? Billy told him to get out of here. I'm hearing that Billy told him, get out of here, we need to lay low. We don't need famous or relatively more famous Tyson Fury hanging around and bringing attention to us and our skullduggery. And finally, and this really is more of a combining principle. This keeps all the information I've given you in this video stuck together. What underpins all of this information is the fact that it's been organised by a shadowy, spooky cabal. There's a lot of spooky things that have been going on, and I'm putting to you this conspiracy to cover up Billy Joe Saunders' situation has been led by El Trapaham and the MTK cabal. Because what we know is, recently, your boy the YB can now exclusively leak to you, man. All of Mark Tibbs' interviews have disappeared. Seconds out, it's gone. Behind the Gloves, Michelle Joy Phelps, it's gone. IFL TV, it's gone. Now, why would, in such an organised fashion. This isn't one interview dropping off. If one interview dropped off, you could argue, well, who knows what happened. But for every single interview to drop off, there's a conspiracy to cover up the truth. They get rid of all the Mark Tibbs interviews who said what really happened, yet Mark Tibbs said, listen, the doctor checked Billy's face and said it's fine to fight on, there's no cracks there. If there was loads of gaping cracks in Billy's face, the doctor would have said no, can't carry on. Mark Tibbs said as much. Mark Tibbs, I asked Billy, do you think if the doctor had told Mark Tibbs he's got 3 fractures in his cheek and 3 fractures in his eye orbital, Mark Tibbs would have asked him to do another round? No. Mark Tibbs knew. The doctor told him, listen, there's a bit of swelling. Fight on. That's why Mark Tibbs said do another round. So they've obviously got rid of all the Mark Tibbs interviews, who said, yeah, I don't really want to get into what happened in the corner, because he was embarrassed for Billy. And they've got rid of them and wheeled out 2021 fruity tooty trainer Ben Davidson. Oh, Billy. Yeah, no, Billy's a warrior. Billy's made so many people quit. Billy loves to make people quit. Billy had Canelo Alvarez looking silly. Wow. That's what's going on. So, like I said, people who will delete evidence, delete proof of what happened, delete the Mark Tibbs interviews, wheel out Ben Davidson. What does that say about their character? If you will try and conceal the truth, number one, what are you doing it for? Why are they deleting them for? Why? And that's the first thing. Number one, why? Why conceal the truth? Why conceal the truth? But most importantly, what does that say about the people? If that makes sense. What does that say about the people who are then telling you that all these things happened? Oh, and by the way, providing no proof. It's one thing, yeah, if they tell us something and provide proof. That, in a way, proof, evidence, negates character. But when we've got nothing but their word to go on, YB, Billy, Eddie Hearn told us, and MTK told us. When you've got nothing but your word, your character is what's important. Now, the character of these people is, they've deleted all these videos, and they're covering things up, aka a spooky, shadowy cabal. That's how they're operating. Now, am I going to believe the words of a shadowy, spooky cabal who's ripping interviews and putting up fake news ones? No, I'm not. Yeah? Way too many points have been caught lacking on this one. So no, unfortunately, you've been schooled. There ain't no injury. He had some minor swelling. Let's not forget, Eddie Hearn said about Daniel Dubois. Daniel Dubois, he had some minor swelling. And the thing is as well, Daniel, yeah? You can see Daniel's eye. It's popped. Billy, they weren't even a bit of popped. Do you understand? So if Eddie Hearn's able to conclude, yep, Daniel had just some minor swelling, guess what? I don't even think Billy had no minor swelling. I think he just got a little bit of a lick and wanted out of there. But I will give Billy credit. Does he have a good chin? I do think he does. I think Billy has a good chin. Because a lot of them shots would have knocked him out. So fair play to him, but that's all he has. And in fact, it's even worse, because if you've got a good chin, and you're jacked anyway, with no injuries, that's shocking. Yeah? Shocking. Anyway, you've been exposed, shadowy cabal, and your boy YB will continue moving from safe house to safe house, no doubt.